Hi, it's me again. I am back. So I have just feel like I just kind of need to talk, and I know this is kind of weird, like it's like a maybe like a video diary or something for me, but I don't cry very often. I think I often just don't like think about my emotions too often. Like like a logical person, and like I don't get ruled by my emotions, but like it's just so tough. Like I feel so sad right now. Like I feel like this little like just this like little sad cloud is kind of sitting over me. But at the same time, I also feel happy and I feel a lot of joy for things. Um, it's just, I don't know, like as a caregiver and as somebody who like really wants to see everybody like do well, and like I always root for people. I try to be the person that like I feel like so often we are so quick nowadays to rant about something, to complain, to, criticize or judge, but like far fewer are we willing to, give like accolades for somebody or compliment them. And so I've been working really hard at making sure like to try to compliment somebody or smile and like just genuinely be kind. And it's like been wonderful. So when you have somebody you care about like in your presence that is struggling with their mental health, it's like there is no textbook for what to do. Or maybe there is. I just haven't read it. Like, I think that for so long I had just assumed that this is just the way he behaved. This was part of his personality. This was, I didn't understand the gravity of it. And I like can relate it only to my experience. And I've had plenty of times that I have struggled with depression and, not just feeling great, just feeling, really overwhelmed and sad and hopeless and things like that. But it's far and few in between. Like it's on occasion. And even now I've become so attuned. Like before I didn't know what it was. I remember we didn't talk about like I can refer back to like when I had Bradley, there wasn't a conversation about postpartum depression. When I had Karina, there wasn't a conversation. There wasn't. I don't even know if it was a term. It wasn't an everyday term. But by the time I had my last child, at like their well child visits, there was like all these questionnaires asking me, am I experiencing this? Am I experiencing this? And after I'm answering them, I'm like, what kind of questions are these? Like, why are they asking me? Usually it's like, and how many hours are they sleeping, how much breast milk or formula are they, not like all these like, do you like want to get out of bed, like do you feel love for your child, like all these things. And so later on the doctor had told me that it was a postpartum depression questionnaire. And so yeah, there have been lots of different phases of my life or times in which I've been depressed. And um I feel like I really didn't have like a verbiage for it. Like, it's like for a little while I feel like we like the word came about and it was like all of a sudden it became very overused, and it was just like I'm depressed, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, like, and so like it almost became like a boy that cried wolf. It's like it was something that like we didn't take very seriously, or maybe just because we don't know how to react or behave or respond. Like we just, like don't know what to do. We're not all clinicians, and we're all, not like some of us were blessed to like be raised by perfect parents or that have the perfect answers. I don't know. Like I don't deal well like with it, and like I just want to fix it. If I see somebody sad, like I want to fix it. And it being somebody in your household, for so many years I really like would, try to fix it, try to ignore it, try to, like pep talk it, because, like with everything, like I have got this wonderful ability to like reframe things in most of my time. Like, yes, when I was on the couch, and I remember like just, like the kids were young, and it would be like I was laying on the sofa and it was like, okay, I would just start binge watching a show. And I don't watch a lot of TV. But like back then I watched a little bit more. So I remember just when the binge watch started coming on, and like a serious show, you know, like not like I'm binge watching New Girl or something fun, you know, that's gonna like be light and easy, but like something a little bit more on the serious side. Typically it's something a little bit more on like a family kind of drama, like something I can like really immerse in, and kind of relate to. And I remember just like almost like hearing the like, you know, depression commercials in my head, and, you know, like, you know, almost like making fun of myself, like, you know, when life hurts, take this drug, you know, when this hurts, you know. And it just was, it was hard enough, like, to deal with somebody else. It's like even myself, like I kind of knew what I was doing. I knew it needed to pass its course, and, you know, then I would be fine. And even now, like if I start to feel the blues or I start to feel sad, it's kind of like, I don't know if it works. It's just temporarily has, like, I'll be like, okay, you're totally, it's fine. Like, I'm not mad. Like, I'm not, you know, it's like, I'm almost talking to myself. Like, it's okay to feel sad. Like it's totally cool to lay in bed today and, you know, relax, or, you know, just listen to music or read a book or binge watch a show or do whatever, but you still have to do your steps. Like, and because I have this thing, and like sometimes I will cut it to the edge. Like it hasn't been for like a year that I've done this, but like I remember there were like days in which I was struggling, and like I spent half of the day or 3/4 of the day like, I don't want to do my steps. Like, you know, like it was like a big adult temper tantrums. I don't want to. I don't have the motivation. I don't care what happens. Who cares if I don't do one day? What's going to happen? Am I going to get grounded? You know, am I going to gain 300 pounds? No, like there is no consequence. But like, you know, the other side of me is like, you have to get up. You just got to get up. And even if you can't do a crazy amount with the condition that you're in, 10,000 is is the bare minimum. That's your bare minimum. And like there were times that it would be like 10 o'clock and I'm calculating like how long is it going to take me to do my steps, and then I'm like, fine, and I begrudgingly, you know, get up and put on a bra and you know, throw on my shoes, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then I start moving, and suddenly I start feeling better, like pretty quickly. And then the next thing you know, I'm like, okay, it's on now. Like, what is this time challenge? Like, how long do I have left? Like, and then the whole time I'm thinking, why did I wait so long to move? Like, this has really, you know, whatever the endorphins or the whatever changing my environment, whatever it was, like, why did I wait so long to do this when it's like a sure thing? And I don't know, sometimes, you know, like I just have to have that conversation with myself. So it reminds me, like when I get there again, to say it's okay. Like it's okay that you're sad. And like sometimes I'll put like these conditions, and I'm like, okay, fine, you could be sad today, but tomorrow, you know, you goes on. And then sometimes I wake up tomorrow and it's not gone. And you know, I can't just talk it away. And so I'm like, all right, well, it's still here. You're still feeling bad, but you still got to do your 10K. And that, you know, that's the rule. And like I say, once I get going, or, you know, if there happens to be a dance class, something about the music and the community of people moving together, like really, just, even if it's just for 50 minutes, it takes me away from whatever I'm experiencing. I mean, literally there were times when, my uncle was passing away, like that whole situation. And it was like, I'm going to go dance. Like he was in a coma and I was there all the time, but like from the in between the hospital and my house was the gym. And so I was like, I think he would want me to do this. And it just felt like he would. Like, I don't think he wants me to just sit here and stare at him. Like he would want me to live my life too. And even after he passed, like to just keep that routine going for me, like nobody knew. And there were like classes that I was in there bawling and dancing. And there have been classes when I've been in a bar class, and like even when my son was injured, I'm bawling and stretching, and like, you know, I'm a pretty quiet crier, so nobody would know. I think the instructor did catch me once though, because he kind of afterwards came up and asked me a random question, and I was like, what the heck is, like, yes, I was crying. I didn't say anything, but I'm like, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I just had to get it out, like, and I'll be fine. But yeah, so like it's just really hard to like deal with kind of depressed or sad feelings yourself, like at least for me. I don't know what your experience is. I would love to hear it. um but it's even more a challenge for me to see someone else sitting in it. Like I just feel so helpless. I feel like a sorrow even deeper than my own sorrow. Like it's just because like I at least know in my mind, like I have like, okay, it's gonna be fine. Like I have a such a like by nature like an optimistic, positive reframe. This is happening for me, not to me. Like I do firmly believe that is my core, my foundation. That is, I believe that wholeheartedly. So that is very true for me. But when a person does not believe those things and is like, ugh, another cliche, like, yeah, right, that is not their reality. And there's nothing I can say or do. And you're not, and then now I'm learning that most people don't even want you to say or do anything, or whatever it is. So it's like I've been trying to learn, like, how can I support you? And then that's frustrating for them because they're like, I don't know. And so then I'm like, great, now I've pissed them off too. Like now they're not only sad, they're mad. Maybe it's better now their attention is being mad at me instead of sad at me. I don't know. And so it's really tough. And I just don't know what to do. Like I I see things in like I try to research and be like, how do I support somebody? And just sit there with them, and then they're like, why are you sitting here? And you're like, I'm just here if you need something, and it's so I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. And I would like to know. And more so, like I want to be a help. Like how like what is help? And then I think that that's very individualistic because sometimes when I'm down, if somebody comes in and they're like, do you want to talk? Well, a lot of times, no, I don't want to talk. I'm working it out, or I'm ignoring it, or whatever in my mind, and I don't want to talk about it. When I do want to talk about it, if I do want to talk about it, I will, but a lot of times I don't. And or maybe I want to talk about it with my therapist, or maybe like I want to choose who I'm talking to about it. And sometimes I don't even know, right? Like I've had that experience where I'm like, I don't even know why I'm sad. Like nothing happened in particular. It was just I woke up, it was raining, and I just feel off. Um and I think it's like a lot of the accumulation. And I think one of the reasons why I don't feel it as often anymore is that I am doing so much like repair and healing from my past, that like all these things that I kept repeating and doing, and these were my default settings, that I thought, like a piece of me thought I was protecting myself by establishing these kind of settings, but really ultimately I was, harming myself. I was, alienating myself. So yeah, but I really would love to know, like, what are your techniques for dealing with and supporting somebody who has depression? Like, what are your suggestions? Like I'd love to hear. Like there's so many new terminologies and things that I just never were a part of my vocabulary, like validating and like I say, like the self-care. Like I'm learning so many things, but I still haven't quite mastered the practice of them. And it's like I know inside I want to do something. It's not even like I should, it's like I want to, but I just don't know what it is. And sometimes so I kind of get stuck. And and particularly right now, like the problem is like I said in the earlier recording, was like with the relationship where it is, like I feel partially responsible for why he's in the state he's in. And that really hurts. Like I know it's not. I know ultimately we all are the masters of our own happiness and sadness, and in a way we have a choice, you know, like how to behave, or how we feel. Like they're just emotions, right? Like we don't have to respond to every one of them. But like I still just feel like this immense like guilt and responsibility for it. And so like as a result, I like want to repair it. I want to fix it. And for so many years I did. I would go down and give him everything that I thought he would want, attention, you know, anything to just relieve it for him. And I think that that also was great for him in the temporary. And it also was good for me because I now wasn't hurting with him, right? And but I do think it also was like a form of enabling, you know. It was like going to the grocery store with my kids and giving them a lollipop and giving them a lollipop and giving them a lollipop because they were upset and didn't want to be there, instead of like having them like learn how to be like, okay, I don't want to be here, but I can't misbehave, you know, like I it was like I almost conditioned him like for this. And so like I feel like partially responsible for like the continuity of the behavior. And then like also like I have decided to make changes in my life, and as a result his life has inadvertently changed, and these were not changes he wanted to make. It wasn't active choices. Like he used to always say, like, I have a great life, like I don't stress, I, you know, I have a wife, I have kids, I have a roof over my head, I have got video games and a big TV to watch sports and movies and TV shows. Like I've got everything I could ever want. You know, yeah, sure, I'd like to go on more trips, or yeah, sure, I'd like, you know, a better car, Hellcat, but you know, overall I'm a happy person, you know. And well, not happy, but content. Like I said, he was probably like, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist or therapist or any of those things. I'm just an observer. Like, I think probably had high functioning depression for his entire life, or at least as long as I've known him. And yeah, and it was just like I've made these changes, and as a result of the changes I've made, he's had to, as a result, make some changes too. And I don't think that he really wanted these changes to happen. He really probably would have been happy had I just stayed the way I was, and, you know, he stayed the way he was, and that would be it for us, you know, that was it. So, yeah, I didn't have really like much to say beyond, I just, you know, I'd love to learn more information about like how to respond to somebody and how to not feel guilty or responsible for somebody else's sadness or pain when like I didn't do something directly to cause it, but I guess indirectly by the state of where our marriage is. And, you know, like you know, like I said during our therapy session yesterday, it was kind of like a, well, you know, I think that we're gonna probably have only a couple more couple sessions, and then, you know, the goal is to work on ourselves individually, because I think that the challenge is we both have so much baggage and so much things that we're working on, and I'm working on mine, and I can't say that he is or isn't working on his, but it's really hard when like we still have to do so much independent work to try to like jump that and then go into the we work. So, you know, Chris is like a not a very like, you know, he needs the definitive answers, and I just don't have a definitive answer for him. Like, is this going to work or is this not going to work? I mean, I just know that, like I said, it's been years since we shared a room, you know, like we, you know, for a little while, you know, back in late 2020, early 2021, we were kind of going on like dates. And back then it was like during the lockdowns. So, you know, we were like just getting food to go and sitting in the car or driving to the beach or, you know, going for walks and things like that. Like we were playing games, board games or card games. And it was like he really like had tried, like he had really was like put in the effort, but then the minute he kind of felt like what was the point, or he didn't see like the reason in it, or felt like I wasn't giving enough because him and I were showing like our work in different ways, um, he just kind of gave up. And so like it was just from there, and we stopped going on dates, or when we were still going on them, it was like he would start yelling at me or leave the car. Like it just got to the point where it was just not fun anymore. And I'm like, I don't want to like, I just don't want to participate in this. Like, I just no longer feel safe. Like, I'm not going to, just because, we have been given this homework to go on dates. Like, it's not fun for me to go and then feel terrible afterwards. Like, this is supposed to be bringing us closer. And I get it. Like, when you have so many years of unspoken like stuff like that, we would just, neither one of us would talk about, or if we would talk about it, it would be talked about in an unhealthy way, like a very passive aggressive. Like it just gets to the point where it is hard. You have to have these difficult conversations, but I think that there is a healthy way to communicate, and like we're just still like not there. And so like we've learned some great things. Like I love it. Supposed to take breaks. One part we like lack in, I'm pretty good at now is like, if I'm the one who's initiating the break, then I need to come back and circle back. Like we were good at, like, for a little while we were like, okay, we're done, and then the conversation would never like pick up again. But then that like hole in your heart, that problem is still lingering, and now we're just adding another problem and another problem. And it's just like right now. So it's like it feels like we've been up the mountain and down the mountain and up the mountain and down the mountain, and now we don't even know why we're walking and hiking this mountain. We just keep falling down, and now we're both looking up. We are beat up, we've got broken bones, we're tired, and we're like, listen, is it even worth to still like climb? Like, why are we climbing this? Do we want to still climb this? Like, do we keep trying to do this? And it just seems like we're getting to the point where we're just like, no. And I have no anger or animosity. I just feel like we're just two very different people having two very different experiences in the same house with the same kids. And I wish like so much so that like we were both healed enough, and that could to be able to just make this work, right? And put in the effort and put in the time, and not have the excuses, and not blame anybody, and not feel responsible for everything. Like to really be productive and like working on this, because like that would be so ideal, right? Like, okay, yeah, we had these bumps in the road and we had these things, but like here we are at the end. Like we are the people that we've been together with the most in our lives. Like, like this would be our 25th year anniversary this year. Like that is a long time. That is like more than half of my life, I've been with him. So, it's just crazy to think like not being together anymore. And it's just crazy to think that like there is a possibility that, you could be together. Like, but it would just take an immense amount of work, and both people have to be willing. And if both people aren't willing and actively, like on a daily basis doing something, then we're just wasting one another's time. Like, I don't want to give him false hope, but like I had sent this thing, because like I'm a visual person. And so I was like, like I had sent him a text, and I was like, I just can't, or it was an email. And I was like, it just can't be spoken to this way anymore. Like this does not work for me. And, like it's just really tough. And so, he was like, I get it. I understand. Like, and then he was like, I still want to be your husband, your lover, your friend. And I just was like, we are so far. Like, I couldn't understand. Like, I kept kind of like that, like those three words out of his whole email kept sticking with me. And I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, we are so far from that. Like, and for me, like, it was going to be like, I needed to just be honest and be like, here's where I'm at. And I'm like, I finally like dawns on me, and I make this like almost like a thermometer like scale, and I'm like, okay, in my opinion, here's like the levels of like a relationship. Like you've got, at the very bottom, you've got like enemies, you got rivals, you got acquaintances, you got friends, you got best friends, and then you got like intimacy, like, romantic partnerships. And I'm like, when we're hanging out all the time at the enemies, at rivals, and acquaintances zone, like we got a lot of work before we get up to lovers, or friends even, like. And I think that like really, from what he had said, like kind of like defeated him, like, oh, it was like I have to do all this work just to even get there. And it was like, yeah, and that's the truth. For me, it's not gonna work. Like I don't like sleeping with the enemy. I like I want to feel safe, and I want to feel cared for. And like even today, like he came in and didn't say hello or didn't do anything. That's fine. And for a minute I kind of stood there and I didn't say anything either. And I let a couple minutes pass. I was cooking, and then I was like, how was your day? How are you? Because I was like, just because he is behaving this way, this doesn't mean that resonates with me. Like I don't want to be in this hostile like environment or awkward. And he was just like, not good. I'm not good. And I was like, oh, I said, um, is there something in particular? Is there anything you want to talk about? And he said, no, just everything. And no, I don't want to talk about anything. I said, okay. And, like there was never a like, well, how was your day? Or, anything about you. And so, like, I don't know, it just makes me feel like uncared for. Like I'm still trying to show I care. I'm still trying to say, like, I sent him a text last night and was like, hey, sorry you're feeling this way. If there's anything I could do or any way I can support you, let me know. And so, and he just said thank you. But like, I don't know, it just feels like it's like a form of rejection, like here, I'm being kind, and that same kindness is not showed to me. It's like almost like I don't exist, or I don't have feelings, or I'm not worthy of being said hello to, or I'm not worth like asking how my day was or is, or or anything about me or myself. So it's like, okay, well, like that to me, like, solidifies like, okay, like, and I guess we all see what we want to see, but I'm like, okay, well, maybe he simply doesn't care, like it's okay. Like he doesn't have to, he's been very clear before, like if we are not together, he does not want to be my friend. And so I have to respect that. And although like for me, I'm like, I would love nothing more than to be friends. Like he has a really, like when he is cracking up, the laugh is so good. Like it's so funny. Like you're not even laughing, but you're laughing because you hear this. He's just dying, like the tears and stuff like that. Like we don't get along. We don't have share like music or different things in common, but like he's still a person that is going to be in my life, like regardless, forever. Like our kids are going to have kids. Our kids are going to have weddings. Our kids are going to, so for as long as we live, there's going to be a part of him in my life. And how much better would it be if that part of him and I could just be friends, like could just get along, like, you know, we don't have to be anything more, but just to be kind to one another and like support each other and primarily support our kids. Like, I don't know, that would be my ideal situation. If this relationship doesn't work out, but that's me. It doesn't mean that like he wants to. He's, a different person, and it's like we are not friends and we will not be friends, and I don't want to see you anymore. And so it feels like very like kind of like conditional. It's like I either need to be, in order to be his friends, I need to be like everything. Otherwise, there's no need for me. But anyway, so I don't know where all that goes. And I know that these have been a little bit on the sadder side, and I wouldn't expect it. This isn't like my normal kind of vibe, but I'm still just, I'm going at it, okay? So I'm doing this, and I hope that you guys all have a great day or night or morning or evening, and I hope that like maybe you guys can share some advice with me and let me know like what do you do in those situations to help support somebody, because I really want to be better. Like I really want to be a good person to other people. And I really do believe in that one saying, and I'll leave it at this, like, you know, those little ripples of kindness that we leave, like, they will turn into tidal waves of love. Like, I believe that wholeheartedly. And so, as long as I keep throwing out little ripples, even though I may not ever, you know, always receive them back, like, then I sleep well at night. And I know that I did everything I could. I was the best person I could be that day. And that's it. So, I thank you again for listening, and I hope that you have a great day. Bye.